All right, what's up, everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, I'm going to be doing part one of my NBA 2024 NBA draft big board. The NBA draft is this week, which is kind of crazy to think about, but the draft is this week, and I'm going to do my 1 through 60 big board. Starting with part one today, this will be the 60 through 31st prospect, and then tomorrow we'll have 30 to number 1 for these videos. So, yeah. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Link to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that, description down below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So before we get really into the big board and my play, I just want to say these are my personal rankings for big boards. You know, these are my personal player rankings, all that stuff. So if you disagree, let me know in the comments below who you think is too high, too low, not good, like not goodly ranked in your opinion. You know, these are all opinions basically. That's what big boards kind of are. So yeah, I want to get right into it. Starting at number 60. So we're gonna work our way from 60 to 31 in today's video. Starting at number 60, we have Antonio Reeves from Kentucky. 6'5", 186-pound, 2-guard, 23 years old from, again, Kentucky. Reeves, he's a good shot creator. That's what I've seen from him. A good shooter, 3-level, score a little bit. He likes to score. That's really what his kind of role is. A lefty, you know, he can shoot the 3-ball. He can get into the mid-range. He can attack the paint and score. You know, so yeah, he's very solid there. Really, the questions are, can he do much besides scoring? Is the thing, because in the NBA, you know, guys like him can be good. It's just how good can he be if he's not hitting shots? You know, that's really, he's kind of, I feel like he's in that kind of archetype of player. Also needs to get a little bit more stronger and finish consistently. He's only 186 pounds right now, and he's 23, so he's a little bit on the older side. So he's gonna have to get that mass and, you know, kind of get better at that quickly, because older players like that, their development kind of rate or the time it takes, the leash they have to develop is a lot shorter than, of course, a 19-year-old or 20-year-old freshman or whatever. But Antonio Reeves, he can be a solid shot creator and score for a team that drafts him. But right now I have him at number 60. At 59, Brony James, 6'2", 210-pound point guard out of USC, 19 years old. Of course, he's been kind of the forefront headline of the NBA draft, even though he's probably going to be a second-round pick, and I have him at 59 in my big board. Of course, I feel like he can be a lot better than this. I feel like he has a higher potential than usually someone around this range that gets drafted, or someone on a big board that's like in the 50s and low 50s for that. But Bronny, he has some good things about him. You know, his athleticism. He's a high IQ, offensive type of player, solid playmaker, good defender. That's one of his better traits. He looks like he could be projected to be a good 3-point shooter. Didn't have an amazing 3-point shooting year, especially on the catch and shoot at USC, but he didn't have a great year at USC in general. USC in general didn't have a great year, you know. So that's why I honestly was more of a fan of him maybe going back for another year. But of course, he declared for the draft. He's probably, I think I said it when I talked about my draft rumors video, but at the very least, he's probably going to end up 55 with the Lakers at the very least. But this is not, I'm not taking this consideration with this big board. Is not about teams' draft picks. It's about players, just players. And for Bronny, you know, I think he has a higher ceiling than a lot of players that usually would be projected around the 59 in like other big boards. But for Bronny, I just think, yeah, he had a bad year at USC. Of course, he had the heart condition that kind of messed him up a little bit. But I do think, you know, he's got some good things about him. Again, his defense, I mean, 6'2" with a 6'7" wingspan, and he's got a big body, good body already. He's athletic, you know. Again, he's a high IQ type of player, you know, a guy that can connect with other players on the court. He could be a point or two. I don't really know if he's a point guard fully yet. You know, I think if he could be a better shot creator or anything like that, I think maybe he could be a point guard. But right now, he's kind of like that in between guard where it's like he's small enough. He's too small to be a 2, but he doesn't have the full, you know, capacity to be a full-time 1 as well. So he'd be kind of back and forth. But I'm wishing the best for Bronny. I have him at 59 right now. At 58, PJ Hall, 6'9", 239-pound power forward out of Clemson, 22 years old. Hall, of course, veteran, 22 years old. Really fundamental type of player. You know, a guy that just knows the little things about the game. He's a good screen setter, roller, you know, makes the right play, does all that type of stuff. Shooting, he's very solid. He's not an amazing shooter, but he's a solid shooter. And a good fundamental defender. He doesn't have really the athletic tools to be an amazing defender, but he's just high IQ and just knows what position to be at the right time and what to do. So that's good. Always players like that, I feel like always find a way to get drafted at the least, and that's what PJ Hall does. Thing is, he's not very athletic. Again, he doesn't really have the crazy tools. He does have a 7'1" wingspan at 6'9", but he doesn't really have the tools to be an amazing, defender. And I feel like his position is a question to me. Is he a 4 or a 5? Because I feel he played mostly 4. He's listed as a 4, and he has the size of a typical 4. But I don't know if he's athletic enough or as amazing of a shooter enough to be a full-time 4. But then also, does he have the size and the defense to be a full-time 5 either? So it's kind of like he's a weird 4-5. Got to really find out how he translates to the NBA. I don't really know, but I think he's a high IQ basketball player. He can potentially figure it out. At 57, Quinton Post, 7'1", 244-pound big man out of Boston College. He's 24 years old, one of the oldest players in this draft, with a 7'2" wingspan as well. Post was someone I didn't really know much about until I started doing my draft work, and I think he's very solid. He's a great good shooter, especially great touch and shooting for a 7-foot big man. And centers that can shoot, always gonna find a way. Good shooting, high IQ offensive player, solid, just inside scoring, ball handling, attacking. He did a lot of getting to basket on his own, attacking on his own with his ball handling ability and scoring inside. He's very solid. Definitely more of a face-up 4 than a post 4, even though his name is Post. But definitely more of probably a face-up 4 than a back-to-the-basket, back you down, and dunk on you type 4. And he's a solid paint defender. He's not an amazing elite athletically or anything like that, but again, he just a lot of fundamental put 2 hands up and just see what happens against a lot of blocks like that. Questions for him, I feel like, can he move well enough to be a 5? I think he's a decent mover, but can he move well enough and protect the rim as well enough to be a full-time 5? And, I think he can find a way into the league with his shooting ability. A guy like 7 foot that can shoot the ball like him. And if the ball handling ability can get better, and he can be kind of a guy that can do handoffs and handoff, set screen, pick and pop, stuff like that, I think he can find a way in the league. At 56, AJ Johnson, 6'5", 167-pound, 2-guard from playing the NBL on Australia, 19 years old. He was one of the top prospects coming into this draft, and instead of going to the Ignite or college, he went overseas to the NBL, kind of the LaMelo Ball route. Statistically, didn't look anything too crazy, but I think there's some potential there. A really good ball handler. He likes to attack the rim. Definitely more of a, give me the ball and let's go. Good in transition as well. In transition, he really, dominated a lot. And he's a solid shooter. He's not an amazing shooter. He definitely needs to get better, but he's a solid shooter. Questions is what really is his position? Again, he has kind of the size of a 2, but also kind of looks like he likes to play the 1. He does have kind of turnover problem a little bit. Sometimes he dribbles himself into a hole too much. Definitely is a little more ball dominant. Can he consistently be a creator for himself and for others? His playmaking is solid. It could be a lot better, though. And again, the size, the strength. He's only 167 pounds at 6'5", so he definitely needs to build out. But he's only 19 years old. So I think he could be worth a second-round pick for a guy, a 2-guard that potentially can be a 1, can create for himself and for others, and just has speed. He's very fast, loves to get in transition and run like that. At 55, Cam Spencer, 6'3", 201-pound, 2-guard out of UConn, 24 years old. I think he's the oldest player in this draft, potentially. Cam Spencer, of course, had the amazing year at UConn. Was around, transferred a lot, but finally ended up at UConn where he won a championship there. Spencer, one thing that stands out, especially watching him in college, is his shooting. Great shooter. A high IQ offensive player as well. He's not just a stand still, stand in the corner, stand in the wing, and wait for others to give him the ball to shoot. He can be a ball handler. It can be a playmaker, not an elite playmaker, but a high IQ offensive player. He can make the right play, make the simple pass, make the right read. But also is good off the ball as well, moving, cutting a lot, again, getting open for shots. So, yeah, and defensively, he competes. He competes defensively, even though he still probably get picked on because he is small, 6'3", 201 pounds, not crazy athletic or anything like that. He doesn't have great athleticism and size. So he probably still will get picked on, but the good thing is he still competes defensively, which you like to see. But yeah, Spencer could be a guy that could be a good second round pick, worthy if you need someone that could be a shooter and also just be a really just solid offensive player that knows how to, make the right read. At 54, Trey Alexander, 6'4", 187-pound two guard out of Creighton, 21 years old. Alexander's been in Creighton for a while time. I've watched him a little while. Alexander, he's a very versatile kind of player. I feel like he's one of those guys that doesn't have one major skill that pops out, but he just does a couple different things very good. His playmaking ability is really good. He likes the ball in his hands. He can play make, solid ball handler. Inside and around the rim, scoring I feel like is very solid for him as well. Another again high IQ offensive player. He just knows what spot to be in. Isn't a guy that really is ball dominant, but when he does have the ball, he can play make. He can make plays for himself and for others attacking him as well. The shooting is not amazing yet. There's some things there, but he doesn't have a bad jump shot at all. It's just the shooting is not there yet. Defensively, definitely could be a lot better as well. And again, the size, needs more strength. Only 187 pounds at 6'4". He's very wiry frame. So there's that to work with. But Alexander, I think, is a high IQ offensive player. He's a guy that can be a combo guard a little bit, be a point and a two, maybe more of a ball handling two, because I don't know if he's going to be an offensive, like a bucket getter or shot creator, but I feel like he's just one of those guys that can do a little bit of everything, and you can fit him in. And he can be a connector piece for a lot of different teams. At 53, Kadeem Johnson, 6'7", 224-pound power forward out of Arizona, 22 years old. Johnson is intriguing to me. Defensively, very good, very versatile defender, guards a couple of different positions. He's got length 6'7", 6'10" wingspan, very athletic as well, good size, athleticism, length. He's got all that. He's got all the tools to be a really, really good defender in the league. Also with the high motor, toughness as well. He has a toughness and kind of confidence to his game as well, which I like. He's also really good in transition. The big question is the jump shot. Is it real? His first couple years in college at San Diego State, he was kind of a meh 3-point shooter. He wasn't horrible, but he was just kind of like, okay. Last year at Arizona, he had an amazing 3-point shooting season. So it's kind of like, what is the jump shot real or not? How is that going to translate to the NBA? Because if it does, then I think he could be a very valuable player. He could be kind of maybe like in that Jay Crowder, Dorian Finney-Smith, that type of role, a good off the bench 3-and-D wing. With his defensive versatility, his athleticism, and if he can hit the shot. If he can't hit the shot, I don't really know. There's a lot of questions. One of is what position is he? Because if he can't shoot, he'll probably have to be a 4, potentially, depending on how the team makeup is. And if you have a good backup shooting center, then he can play the 4. But if you don't, then do you play him at the 5? He's got the athleticism and the length maybe to play 5, but I don't know if he has the interior presence and defense and rebounding to be a 5. And I don't know if he could play 3, especially if he can't shoot. He can't play 3. So it's kind of odd. Really, it's the jump shot. Is the jump shot real or not? Because if the jump shot is real and he becomes a really solid 3-point shooter, I think he can have a long career in the league. At 52, Justin Edwards, 6'6", 209-pound small forward out of Kentucky, 20 years old. Edwards was he's a top prospect coming out of his class, went to Kentucky, and just didn't have a great year. Got kind of overshadowed by guys like Rob Dillingham and Reese Shepard, and Kentucky had an amazing class come in, and Edwards is kind of the guy that kind of just got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But there are some good things about Edwards. Off the ball, he was very good at Kentucky off the ball, cutting, doing all that stuff like that. Off ball, he's really good. Solid passer as well, and defensively, he's got traits. 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan, and he competed defensively. You like to see that. And again, he made really good passes as well. Really, it's just about the year of Kentucky. Like, did he lose confidence? How good is he now with having an actual team around him? Because at Kentucky, he had an actual team around him and didn't really do as good. Creating, he showed flashes of creating, but can he do it good enough? He likes to get to the mid range and stuff like that, but at the NBA level, he's not going to have that many mid-range and creating opportunities. So can he make do with what once he gets? And what really is his role is a big question as well. Like, what is he? Is he a 3-and-D guy? But I don't know if he's an amazing enough 3-point shooter to be that. Is he a 3-and-D guy? Is he a secondary shot creator? but I don't know how good is he as a shot creator yet. It's very questionable. I still think he's worth a draft pick, and I think he's gonna get drafted. I think he's worth it. We've seen a lot of guys that just had kind of off years at one year in college, even though he's a top high school guy, and then come back to the NBA and kind of find himself again. And I think Justin Edwards is a candidate that can do that, but we just have to see. At 51, I have Pella Larson, 6'6", 212-pound two guard out of Arizona. He's 23 years old. Larson, definitely more of a role player at Arizona, but a really, really good one. And he's kind of intriguing, honestly. I think he can be a very solid player in the NBA. Shooting, I like the shooting. A little bit of a slower jumper, but it's still as effective. And in the NBA, I don't think it's going to be a big problem if he can work with some people and get that as a faster jump shot. I think it's nice. But he's not just a guy that's going to just sit and wait for a shot. He's a guy that can attack and score off like, little pump fake or one dribble, attack the closeout, get to the rim and score. Solid ball handler, playmaking as well. He can do that. And defensively, he can do that as well. He can do a little bit of everything, very solid. Just a really good basketball player in general. I don't know how high his ceiling really is or how much better he really can get. I think this is just kind of like what he is, especially at 23 years old. I feel like this is kind of what he is. But I do think if he gets to the right situation, he can be a very solid role player, bench player for a team. So that is kind of intriguing to me. At 50, Olich Sham. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I am. 6'11", 232-pound big man from the NBA Academy in Africa. He's 18 years old. He's the youngest player in the draft. And he is another very, very, very intriguing prospect. I consider putting him higher, but he's at 50 right now. Already good size. I mean, he's 18. He's already 6'11", 230 with a 7'4" wingspan. Already crazy. And he's athletic too. He's not just like a big body. He is very athletic as well. Can be a good lob threat. He runs the floor pretty well. Shot blocking, he's very good at that as well. Very solid shot blocker and passing as well. Considering, he's still very raw. He is a lot better of a passer than I expected him to be. But yeah, really the thing is he's super young. He's 18. He doesn't turn 19 until December. So he's still very, very young. Still very raw as well. You can definitely tell he still needs to learn a little bit more about the game. Still needs to, have a higher IQ. He definitely is a good shot blocker, but defensively he kind of isn't amazing IQ wise yet. Offensively as well, And is there a jump? The jump shot is a question. He took some shots when he was playing the NBA Academy in Africa. The jump shot doesn't look pretty, but it went in sometimes. So is the jump shot a thing? Is that a thing? Because if that's a thing, then that can change a lot of things. I'm not really expecting it to be a thing, and I'm not banking on the fact that he's going to have a jump shot, but it's something that maybe could happen. But I definitely think he's worth a second round pick. I expect him. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he goes a little bit like an early second round potentially, just because again he's super super young, has so many traits and tools that he can be a really good center. The athleticism, the size, the shot blocking, the rim running, like he can do all that already. And you can see you can project in the future, he's going to be very, very good once he gets a little bit more developed. And in another year or two, maybe, who knows what he's going to be at. So I think Olich definitely is a guy that is worth a second round pick. And honestly, he's one of the most intriguing prospects, especially this late, with the draft board. At 49, going with Jaylen Jones, 6'5", 236-pound, small forward out of Weber State, 22 years old. Jaylen Jones is one of the most interesting, at least to me, he's the most interesting prospect. Not even just because of his game and how it's really going to translate to the NBA. He's one of the most odd prospects you're going to see, because he's very versatile, first of all, very versatile offensively and defensively, you know. He's got a really good handle for his side. He's kind of was like a point guard at Weber State. I think he led his team in like every stat at Weber State. He had some big games. He kind of was like their point guard for them. He's got a good handle for his size, good creator, especially, in the mid range, in the paint area. In the paint, he likes to play bully ball, back you down with his big body. That's the thing. That's the thing. Keep in mind when I'm saying all the things that he's good at and what he does, keep in mind he's got the body of like a PJ Tucker, David Roddy type build, you know? So with that being said, with that build, it's a really good handle, good finishing in the paint and creating for himself. Rebounding, he's really, really good rebounding. Defensively, he's very solid. And he's a really good catch and shoot shooter. Catch and shoot 3-pointers, he can do it. Creating for himself in terms of threes, he's not really doing that. It's not like he's taking crazy step back threes or anything like that. But at the NBA level, he's not really gonna have to do that. And the big question is really like, how does he fit in the NBA? Because again, he's such a odd player. Like you don't really see players like him around. A kind of a point forward, a point big body forward. Like a he's got the size of like a power forward, but the skills of a point guard. It's very weird. You know, the one thing that again I do like is that he's a good catch and shoot shooter. So if he's not gonna have the ball as much in his hands at Weber State as he is in the well, he's not gonna have the ball as much in his hands in the NBA as it is at Weber State. That's what I'm trying to say. But so if he can make do with his limited opportunities and potentially be a guy that can attack closeouts as well, get to the rim, maybe even be a secondary point or secondary ball handler if they need him to. And again, I like that he's a rebounder. He defensively competes. He's got good length, 6'5" with a 6'11" wingspan. So he's got good things. And honestly, he's one of my favorite prospects down low late in the draft, second round. Because I'm super intrigued to see how he really fits in the NBA. And I think if he can fit, and if he can be a consistent knockdown 3-point shooter, especially on the catch and shoot, I think there's really a place for him. At 48, we have Jamal Shed, 6'1", 200-pound point guard out of Houston, 21 years old. Shed was one of my favorite players in college basketball. Just a guy that was at Houston for a very long time. Just a tough, tough kid. You know, active, energy, high motor, toughness, brings all that leadership. He brings all that to the table. Defensively, very, very good in college. It's going to be interesting to see how it fits to the NBA because he is small. So, it's going to be interesting to see how his defense translates to the NBA. But as long as he has that toughness and energy, I think he can find a way. Playmaking, very solid as well. And he likes to attack. He likes to attack. He can score the ball very solid as well. The shooting is not amazing yet. He's not a bad 3-point shooter by any means, but definitely still needs some work on the 3-point shooting and again his size. His size is not. He's a little bit on the smaller side. So defensively, how's that going to translate? But I definitely do think he is worth a second round pick. And with the maturity he has and the veteran leadership he has shown in Houston, all that stuff, I think in the right situation, he can really make a really good career out of himself. At 47, Melvin Ejim, 6'8", 213-pound wing, played in France, 19 years old. He's a very good prospect as well. He's a good shooter, a very good shooter, even though the form is a little, I don't want to say funky. It's not funky at all. It's just, a very unique form, but it goes in. Shot creating is very solid as well, especially, trying to get to the paint and stuff. He's very solid there. Finishing is really good. Just a really good all-around basketball player. Good high IQ, energetic, he gets a lot of offensive rebounds and putbacks and stuff. Moves around the court. Very good off ball, which is something I like to see. The thing is, he's not a great ball handler yet, in terms of his legitimate handle isn't great yet, but something he can work on. A lot of his 3-point shots as well were catch and shoot, set 3-pointers. Can he move? I didn't see a lot of coming off screens and handoffs and stuff to shoot. So can he do that really well? And yeah, I don't know what his ceiling is too. Does he have a little bit more maybe in the creating bag and can be a guy that can go become a bucket getter as well as a shooter? Or is this just who he is? Is he just going to be a off ball, shooter, connector type piece, which isn't going to be a bad thing at all. But he's still very young, still 19 years old, and he's intriguing to me as well, late, especially around this part of the draft board. At 46, Trenton Flowers, 6'7", 201-pound wing, played in the NBL for the Adelaide 36ers, 19 years old. He honestly is probably one of the most, intriguing and probably one of the higher, ceiling players in the draft. In terms of he'll get drafted just based off what the ceiling could be. He's got one of the highest potential, especially if he becomes a second round pick. You know, he likes to attack, likes to get to the rim, isn't shy of contact, even though maybe a little bit, smaller frame, definitely needs to add more strength, but he's not afraid to get into the paint and attack there. Off ball, he's very solid as well. Catch and shoot, cutting and stuff. He was good at doing that. Shooting, I mean, he can do it. He's a really solid 3-point shooter, maybe a little bit streaky, but he's got confidence as well. He definitely saw a lot of catch and shoot threes with someone right in his face. He just didn't care and pulled it. So he definitely got confidence in himself. And the shot creating ability, there's a lot of potential there. With him, getting the ball, maybe pump fake, get to the rim, layup, could be a bucket getter, potentially. Again, he's still kind of raw, still 19 years old. His decision making definitely needs to get a lot better, especially if he's going to be a guy with the ball in his hands and it's going to be a creator. He definitely needs to get better a little bit decision making. Sometimes he definitely likes to just kind of put his head down, go to the rim. Sometimes, and he's not an amazing playmaker, but there's a lot of potential here, a lot of potential, especially with his athleticism as well. He's can be a highlight maker with his dunks and stuff and transition play. So yeah, he's a very, very interesting, and again, one of the guys that I think can have the biggest kind of swings in the draft. He's gonna be a big, like swing home run hit type of pick. At 45, Jaylen Bridges, 6'7", 213-pound small forward out of Baylor. He's 23 years old. Jaylen Bridges is a guy that watching his film and stuff, honestly became a guy that I really, really liked while watching his film. He has really good 3-and-D player type traits to him. Off ball, he was really, really good at Baylor off the ball. Shooting was really, really good. Cutting, making the right play. He was really good at that. Again, making the right play, being in the right spot at the right time, hitting the corners, making the right cuts. Just really good off the ball for Bridges, and versatility defensively as well. Defensively, he held his own. He's got good length, 6'7", with a 6'10" wingspan. Got a good frame to be a really good defender. So honestly, I think Jaylen Bridges is definitely worth a case in the second round. And if a playoff team or something like that gets him, I think he can be a guy that could come in and maybe find a role for himself quickly. I definitely do believe that. The question is, though, can he be a shot? Is he a shot creator? Or is he just going to be an off-the-ball player? Which is not going to be really a big deal if he's not a shot creator. If he's just a good off-ball player. And how real is a three-pointer? Because last year definitely was kind of like a off year in terms of three, in terms of like he shot the ball really, really well than what he usually did. But honestly, I'm kind of buying into the jump shot because the form looks really, really good, and he looked really, really comfortable and confident out there shooting the ball, personally. So yeah, Jaylen Bridges is one of my guys, especially in the second round. He's one of my favorite prospects in the second round of the draft. At 44, Jaylen Wells, 6'7", 206 pounds, small forward out of Washington State. He is 20 years old. He's a guy that kind of shot up draft boards late, especially around the combine and stuff. He shot up draft boards a little bit. And yeah, great shooter. Very confident shooter as well. At Washington State, he was just a guy that was going to get him up. And the form looks really nice, really quick release as well. So I like that for him, and creating off of his shot as well. He was really good at as well. Like, if the three wasn't there, it's like, all right, one dribble, we're going to get to the mid-range, or one dribble and get to the paint. So he's not just a guy that if it's not three, it's nothing. He's a guy that can do a little bit attacking closeouts and stuff. Defensively, he's very solid as well. Very active, high energy. I like that for him too. So yeah, he's got some game. He's definitely got some game to him. One thing, doesn't really attack the brim a whole lot. You don't see a lot of him getting to the paint and getting in contact and stuff and getting to the rim and stuff, except for like in transition. So that could be something to work on. And he's a little bit small, needs a little more strength as well. Definitely looks a little bit more like thin, even though he is 206 pounds. I don't know what that is about, but he definitely looks a little bit more, thin. But Jaylen Wells in the right situation, I really, really do think he can pop. Like with the shooting ability he has, the confidence to, take that one dribble and get to the rim or something like that. I think he has the ability to be a pop candidate in the second round. At 43, KJ Simpson, 6'1", 187-pound point guard out of Colorado. Simpson is a high IQ veteran PG. That's who he is. Upperclassman, high IQ player, just makes the right play. Shot creating, he's very solid at for himself and for others. He's really good. His shooting ability is very good as well. The mid range, the 3-point shot, that's he's got it. And even off the ball, even though he's a smaller guy and he's going to play the point guard, off the ball, he did very solid as well in his time at Colorado. Also, I like his hustle feistiness. You kind of need that a little bit when you're that small of a guard. And KJ Simpson has like that Fred VanVleet, like not comparing him to Fred VanVleet, but just that type of like hustle and just like I'm not gonna back down from anybody. He has that in him, which I like. The only thing again, he's small, 6'1", 187. He's small and not very athletic either. So that maybe could limit him in terms of getting to the paint and stuff. But I do think he can find a way to work out in the league as just a really good backup point guard. At 42, Jonathan Mogbo, 6'7", 217-pound forward out of San Francisco. He's 22 years old. Mogbo is another one of those guys, kind of similar to Dylan Jones, in a sense where he is a very kind of more peculiar draft prospect to think about. At San Francisco and in college and his career and stuff, he's a very versatile player on both ends. He's a really good playmaker, 4'4" and a 5. He kind of was more of a center at San Francisco, even though he's only 6'7", 217, but he does have a 7'2" wingspan, which works. He's a really good playmaker and handle for his size. So he's a guy that can break down the defense, get to the paint, and make a good pass and make the right play. Defensively, he was really good as well. He's active, a lot of energy, really good shot blocker. Again, he's got really good length and athleticism. So he's got that for him. Really, it's just about what is his position. He doesn't really shoot the ball a whole lot. He's not a three-point shooter or a shooter at all, really. So it's like, how much there? He doesn't have amazing touch around the rim either, even though he gets a lot of his points and like backing down and, hitting a little shot here and there, getting to the free throw line. He's not really a finesse type big. And the real question again is kind of what is he in the NBA? What is his position? Because if he can't shoot and isn't going to show even the ability to shoot, then it's kind of like, is he going to be a 5? But then again, I don't know. He's got the length and stuff to play a 5, but I don't know if he has the game to be a full-time 5. I think maybe he could. I don't think it's impossible, but it's just going to be a little bit tougher for him to do that. Is he a 4? Because he has a sizable 4. But again, he can't really shoot the ball a whole lot, and he likes the ball in his hands to play make. So it's like, I don't know if he could be a 4, and if he can't shoot, then it's like he really is going to have to be kind of put as a 5, as a small, undersized 5. But he does have the energy, the length, and the defensive ability to potentially be a 5. And again, with his playmaking ability and his handle, he could maybe be kind of like I'm not comparing him to Domantas Sabonis, but the way he was used at San Francisco was kind of Sabonis-like. Kind of like top of the key, handoffs, get to the paint, make plays and stuff like that. It was kind of Sabonis-like in San Francisco. So maybe he could be a center in the league. He's small. He probably needs to add a little more weight and strength to his body, but I don't think it's impossible. At 41, we have Harrison Ingram, 6'6", 233-pound, small forward out of North Carolina. He's 21 years old. Guy's been around for a little while in college basketball, and I personally am a fan of Harrison Ingram. I think he has really good role player traits. He's a good playmaker, really good passing ability as a forward, rebounding very good as well. Playmaking, rebounding, he can do that stuff. And defensively, he projects to be a good defender with his length, 6'6", with a 7-foot wingspan. He's got good athleticism and stuff, so he projects to be a good defender. Really, it's the shooting. How real is it? He had a really good shooting year last year in North Carolina, but his track record shown that he's not an amazing three-point shooter. So really, it's just like how real is his three-point shot? Because if the three-point shot is real, I definitely do believe he will be a really good role player for a long time in the league. Because with his shooting, if he does become a good defender, he hustles, he likes to get the rebound, and he makes the right plays. So if that shooting is real, then that could extend his career for a very long time, Harrison Ingram. But really, it's just a shooting, and how much is the playmaking really going to be there? Again, he's not going to have the ball a lot in his hands. When he does have the ball, it's probably going to be more in catch and shoot situations. So how much is the playmaking really going to be there? That's a question. But I think Harrison Ingram does have really good traits to become a really good role player. At 40, have Nikola Jurisic, 6'7", 208-pound wing, played at Serbia, KK Megabasket. He's 20 years old. Here's a guy I also did work on last year on the draft board, but then he decided to opt out of the draft and go back overseas. Jurisic is a very intriguing player. I see a lot of people are intrigued in him. He's been shooting up draft boards a little bit as well as of recently because he's got that fun, that pop kind of potential, like I said, with maybe some similar to Trenton Flowers, where he's got that kind of potential. He likes to create for himself. He's very crafty in terms of getting to the rim and finishing, shooting the ball, getting on his mid-range jump shot bag. Like he can do that. He's got that creative ability, which makes, again, a lot of people intrigued with him. Playmaking as well is really good, especially for a guy that has the ball in his hands a lot with that size. The playmaking is good, which is intriguing. Um, really, the only concerns is the efficiency. He was not really efficient in his attempts. When he did get into his bag, he made some, but he wasn't really efficient. And can he consistently shoot it when he's getting that opportunity? Can he consistently make those shots? Because it's one thing to take those shots, it's another thing to make those shots. So yeah. And defensively, he can be better. He's got the length and the size to potentially be a solid defender, but he didn't really do that great in Serbia. So defensively, he needs some work. And can he attack consistently as well? Can he consistently be attacking like he did at Serbia in the NBA? But I definitely do think he's worth a take. He maybe even could be one of those guys that goes a lot earlier than you think. Potentially could be a drafting stash potentially for another year or two. But with that, again, that creation ability and the playmaking ability at 6'7", he's very intriguing. I definitely see why a lot of teams are intrigued by him. At 39, Cam Christie. 6'5", 190-pound two-guard in Minnesota. He's 18 years old. He's the brother of Max Christie for the Lakers. Cam Christie, really good shooter. I love the form. Really, really good shooter. He did shot ball pretty well at Minnesota. Defensively, he's solid as well. He's got really good 3-and-D wing traits to him. He's got good length, 6'5", with a 6'8" wingspan. Defensively, he competes, even though he is a little bit on the smaller side in terms of his weight and frame. He's only 190 pounds, but he's 18 years old, so that can be fixed pretty easily, and with his shooting ability. So I think if he could do that, I think he could be around for a long time. The questions are, can he create for himself? Can he become more than that? Can he become a guy that isn't just a 3-and-D, but also maybe can do a little bit more than that? He also isn't a guy that can attacks the rim consistently yet. He's not a guy that's just going to get to the rim and do that very often. But I think Cam Christie does have a lot of good 3-and-D player traits already at 18 years old, and he's still got a lot more, to go in terms of development. At 38, we have Juan Nunes, 6'4", 205-pound point guard, played over in Germany this year. He's 20 years old. Nunes has been a guy that's been talked about a little while. He's played in the Olympics and stuff like that. He's been a guy I feel like I've heard for the last couple of years. And the thing that sticks out is his passing ability. Great playmaker, makes some highlight play type of passes. Makes those passes. I was just like, dang, how'd you make that? How'd you get that there? So he's got that kind of passing ability that can change the game. Defensively, he's solid, and finishing, getting to the rim, he's solid there too. But the passing is really the key trait that he has right now. The questions are still, kind of his scoring ability. Can he consistently shoot the ball? He was not a bad shooter at all, but can he consistently be a three-point shooter? How well is his mid-range and floater game going to get? He's not bad, but it's definitely not super 100% there yet. The little floater game, especially for a guard that's going to have the ball in his hands with like him because he's a playmaker, can that get better? And can he create for himself consistently? Can he become a guy that not only can create for others, but create for himself? Maybe get to the rim or get to mid-range or something like that. Can he do that? But I think with his playmaking ability alone, he's worth a shot. His playmaking ability alone is super, super intriguing. At 37, also Iguodaro, 6'10", 222-pound forward out of Marquette. He's 21 years old. Iguodaro is a very interesting prospect. Not maybe as much as Mogbo or Dylan Jones, but he's very interesting as well. Versatile defender. He moves really good for his size at 6'10". He's a smart player, very high IQ player. Defensively, very versatile. In terms of guarding the perimeter, guarding the paint, he can do that. His playmaking ability is really good as well. He was a big that had the ball a lot in his hands, making plays for himself, making plays for others. That's good. He's also could be a lob threat. He has the kind of body and potential to be a lob threat as well. Really, the question is he a 4 or 5? That's a big question because he's listed as a 4. I don't know if he's a good. He's not really a good enough shooter to be a power forward yet. It'd be a consistent power forward, but I don't know if he has the shot blocking, the rebounding ability to be a full-time 5 either. So that's really that's the question. It's like, is he a 4 or is he a 5? Because he's got good, potential with the high IQ, the playmaking, the defensive ability. And if he can be a lob threat and a rim runner, then he's got it. But is the shot going to be there? Because if the shot isn't there, he's going to have to be a 5. And if he becomes a 5, can he be stronger? Can he be a shot blocker and defensive anchor like that? And a rebounder like that. So that's interesting to me. But I think also is going to be all right. I think he's going to find a way. At 36, Baylor Shireman, 6'7", 201 pound, small forward out of Creighton. He is 23 years old. Shireman's been around for a while, 23 years old. I saw him at SDSU, then at Creighton. His shooting ability, thing that jumps off. Lefty, 3-point stroke. He's got it. But he did a little more than 3-point shoot in his college career. Saw a ball handler. He's a guy that can put the ball on the floor a little bit, make the right plays, kind of a connector a little bit on offense where he's going to make the right play, isn't going to ask for too much of the ball, and when he gets his shot, it's going to knock him down. And defensively, he's very solid as well. So that's a good thing. He's not really athletic, doesn't have athleticism, so how's that going to work? And can he consistently attack? Can he consistently, in the NBA at least, put the ball on the floor and attack the rim? Is that going to limit him in the NBA? But with his shooting ability, his, good connect, he's got a connector type of feel to his game where he's just going to be a guy that whatever the offense needs from him, he could do it. So I think Shireman is definitely worth a pick. And I feel like he shot up boards a little bit, especially during the combine. He had a really good combine apparently, and that shot him up a little bit in the draft boards and stuff. At 35, at Adem Bonar, 6'9", 243-pound center out of UCLA. He's 21 years old. Bonar is a guy that, honestly, it's very rare to say that a potential second-round pick is a safe pick, but I feel like he is. He's one of the more safer kind of prospects to pick in the draft, especially at this point. If he falls to 35 or something like this, he's definitely worth a shot. Very athletic. The athleticism jumps out. Very athletic, especially for being a 6'9", 243-pound big. Very athletic. 7'3" wingspan at 6'9", with being athletic. That is something that I like a whole lot. Shot blocking, very good. Like good rebounder as well. Very active, high motor, very active around. He's a lob threat too. He was a solid post player as well. He's not gonna be asked to do that much in the NBA, but I think he's worth a pick. He maybe even potentially could be sneaking into that late first round, potentially for me at least. Like I like him a whole lot. The athleticism, the length, the activity, the rebounding, the shot blocking, the lob threat. Like, what more do you really want in a young center? And he's 21. So he's got a little bit more, experience compared to if he was 18 or 19. So I like that a whole lot. Really, the only question I have is he just particularly a lob threat on offense? Is he just a lob threat? Can he be a guy that, ball in hand, do handoffs and stuff like that? Can he do that? I don't really know. And if he can, that just adds on more. But even if he can't, I feel like, again, he's more of a safer maybe prospect because, I don't know. I'm just a big fan. I'm a big fan of Adem. At 34 of A.J. Mitchell, 6'4", 197-pound guard from UCSB, UC Santa Barbara, same school that Gabe Vincent went to. He's 21 years old. Mitchell, I think, has really good role player traits. Especially if he ends up in the early first round. He's going to be a guy that I think if the right team picks him up, like a playoff team picks him up, I think he can do great. He's a guy that just knows how to play. High IQ player, good playmaker. With the ball, without the ball, he can do it. Finishing, he's really solid as well. Defensively, he can hold his own. Even though he's only 6'4", 197, he can hold his own defensively with a 6'6" wingspan. So I think he's just a guy that just get on the court, he can find a way to figure it out on the court. Really the question is, he's not very fast or athletic. He's not a speedster or going to jump out the gym. And how real is this shooting year? He's another one of those players that kind of had a really out-of-character shooting year at UCSB. So really it's just how real is that shooting? Because if that shooting is real and he can transit to the NBA, I feel like he's going to be a really good player. Kind of Andrew Nemhard-esque type fit and type player he can be. I really do believe A.J. Mitchell can do that. But if it's not, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But I feel like with his high IQ, with the things he does do on the court, I definitely do believe he'll find a way in the league. At 33, we have Ryan Dunn, 6'6", 213-pound small forward out of Virginia. He's 21 years old. He's a guy. He's another very interesting prospect. Defense. If you don't know much about Ryan Dunn, just know one word: defense. Defense, defense, defense. You can make an argument he's probably the best defender in the draft right now. Defensively, he's there. Steals, blocks, on ball, off ball, he does that. Defense, he can do it. And he's very athletic as well, which adds a lot more to that defense. Defensively, he'll find a way. Offensively, there's the complete opposite story, where he can't really do much for himself offensively. His shooting was not great. He's not a shot creator. So it's like, where does he really fit in on the offensive end? Kind of Matisse Thybulle like. Whereas like defensively, he's really good. Offensively, how to really put him? You know, can he figure it out offensively? And if he can, then if he becomes even like just a decent 3-point shooter and cutter and stuff like that, he's gonna be around and be a guy you can't really take off the court because of his defense. If he cannot figure it out offensively, then it's gonna be really tough to play him, because even though defensively he's amazing, if he's not giving you much offensively, it kind of just a liability, and they're not even guarding him on the offensive end. It's like, how much can we really? How much can he last? How long can he last in the league? But with his defensive ability and all that stuff, he's definitely worth it. Potentially could be a first-round prospect. I honestly am kind of assuming he is going to be a first-round prospect, just again because his defensive ability and that athleticism is just too much kind of to pass up on. At 32, we have Pomare Gott. I don't know if that's how you. I think that's probably how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure though. Let me know if you know in the comments below. He's 6'8", 216-pound two guard. Played over in Germany this year. He's 18 years old. He's a guy that I feel like I've heard a lot, especially recently in the last week or two, about him. He's a guy. He's got good size, 6'8", two guard. You know, played very well off the ball in terms of his catch and shoot, cutting, stuff like that. He's really good. Shooting ability is very solid. And has shown some flashes of being a creator. In terms of getting to the rim on his own, creating for himself from 3-ball and stuff like that. Even maybe creating for himself. Creating for others potentially. That's not really there yet, but there's some potential there. So he definitely has a lot of, potential and a potential pop factor and the home run hits that a lot of teams I feel like are gonna look at, and I won't be surprised he's a guy that goes a lot higher than we assume. So you have that. He's still very raw though. He's still 18. Still has a lot more to figure out in his game. And the creating is again still potential. But how consistently can he do that? And can he create for others as well? Because he didn't show that a whole lot either. But with his creation ability, his size, especially being a 6'8" guy that can handle the ball, definitely has a lot of teams intrigued. And the last guy for this video at 31, Clemon, 6'9", 212-pound forward, played in the NBL. He's 21 years old. He's another guy that I did my work on last year during the draft process. He was at Wake Forest, but then he decided to opt out the draft and go overseas. He's a guy I actually liked last year. I liked him at Wake Forest, and I liked him in the draft process. He went overseas, and I like him a lot more. He definitely looks a lot more seasoned, looks a lot better, and he didn't look bad at Wake Forest, but he looks a lot better. Off the ball, he was really, really good. Off the ball, his cutting was great. His catch and shoot ability was really good. He's a really good shooter. He likes to play out in transition as well, with his speed and athleticism. So he's definitely a guy that you can see him fit in right away to a team. He also has high defense potential with the length, 6'9", with a 6'11" wingspan. He's got high defense potential. It's just the IQ isn't there all the time. But with his traits and his body, he has potential to be a really good defender. He doesn't really create for himself or for others yet, but in the NBA, I don't think he's really going to be asked to do that. And he's still a little bit raw. Maybe still needs another year really to get involved. But I definitely believe that Clemon can be a really good wing role player in the league with his shooting, with how good he plays off the ball. And if that defense can catch up and he can become a good defender, he's going to have a long NBA career. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. Part 2 of this video will be out tomorrow with 30 through 1. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.